Your dog licks your feet. It seems harmless, maybe even sweet. We laugh, we squirm, we call it just a quirk. But what if I told you it's not just affection? What if that soft, wet nudge on your foot is something far more serious? What if it's a silent scream? I used to brush it off too. Max, my golden retriever, used to do it every night, especially after dinner. I thought it was his weird little way of bonding. Until the day he stopped eating. Until the day he started hiding. And only then did I realize those licks weren't love. They were warnings I ignored. See, dogs don't cry. They don't talk. But they speak. Loudly. Through body language habits. And yes, through feet licking. And when we misunderstand those signals, we risk missing what matters most. Their pain, their anxiety, their final goodbyes. Today, I'm going to walk you through 20 behaviors, starting with foot licking, that most dog owners completely misunderstand. You'll discover what your dog's been trying to tell you all along. Whether it's anxiety illness or deep emotional bonding, each action holds a message. This isn't just a video. It's a conversation you didn't know you needed to have with your dog. And trust me, by the end you'll never see their behavior the same way again. Let's begin, not with barking or wagging or chewing, but with one quiet, often overlooked moment when your dog places a paw on your foot. 1. Paw Placer, attention-seeking or anxiety. Have you ever felt a light paw rest on your leg while you're watching TV or working at your desk? Just a gentle touch. Not a demand, not a nudge. At first glance, it feels sweet, like your dog is saying, "Hey, I'm here." But in many cases, it's so much more than that. This small gesture is what behaviorists call a calming signal. Dogs use it to self-soothe, to reconnect, or to quietly ask for reassurance. Especially in older dogs or rescues, placing a paw can be their way of saying, "I'm not okay right now, but I trust you." Studies from behavior labs in Italy and Norway have shown that subtle gestures like paw placing often precede more obvious signs of anxiety. And when ignored, these small cries can escalate into pacing, whining, or even destructive chewing. I had a client, a retired Marine with a Cavapoo named Molly. Every evening, she'd put her paw on his boot. He thought it was cute. Until the day she stopped. That's when the vet found early-stage kidney distress. Her paw was never random, it was ritual. It was communication. So the next time your dog lays a paw on, you don't brush it off. Respond. Look into their eyes. They may not be asking for love, they may be asking for help. And speaking of asking for help, have you ever been woken up at 2 a.m. by your dog barking at nothing? 2. Midnight barking. It's 2:17 a.m. The house is quiet. The world is still. And suddenly your dog barks. Loud. Urgent. You sit up, heart racing. You check the window, the hallway, the locks. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You tell them to be quiet. Maybe even scold them. But what if they weren't barking at something outside? What if they were barking because the silence scared them? In the wild, silence meant danger. Predators stalked in stillness, and dogs descendants of wolves knew that when the pack went quiet, something was wrong. Barking wasn't just noise. It was a roll call. Are you there? Are you okay? A study from Cambridge University on canine nighttime behavior found that many dogs bark during low-activity hours, not out of fear or boredom, but from instinct check-in if their human is still safe and alive. Especially in older dogs, or those with trauma history, nighttime barking can be a panic signal, not protection panic. I knew a woman whose rescue dog barked every single night at 2 a.m. She thought he was reacting to street noise. Turned out it was the hour her late husband used to get up for work. That dog wasn't guarding the house, he was guarding the past. If your dog barks at night, try this. Leave an old t-shirt near their bed. Something that smells like you, It doesn't fix everything, but sometimes your scent says more than your voice ever could. But what if the barking's not at night? What if it happens when you're just relaxing, and suddenly you feel a wet tongue on your feet? 3. Foot licker. Stress or affection. You're sitting on the couch, finally relaxing after a long day. You slip off your shoes, stretch out your legs, and there it is. That wet, warm, ticklish sensation. Your dog is licking your feet again. Maybe you laugh. Maybe you cringe. Maybe you say, she's just being weird. But what if that weird moment holds something deeper dogs lick for many reasons? Yes, it can mean love, affection, submission. But when it's persistent, almost frantic, especially if your dog seems anxious while doing it, it may be something else entirely. According to a behavioral study published in Veterinary Behavior Journal, repetitive licking, particularly of human skin, is a common displacement behavior, a coping mechanism for stress. Think of it as your dog's version of nail biting, a way to calm themselves when they don't know what else to do. I had a case once, Max, a senior golden retriever. His owner thought the licking was sweet. He does it every night, she said, like a bedtime kiss. But Max was losing weight, restless, withdrawn. The licking wasn't love, it was distress. We adjusted his routine, introduced calming activities, and within weeks, the licking eased. So did his anxiety. Foot licking can be a comfort habit, or it can be a red flag. What matters is context. Is your dog calm, or are they restless? Are they licking gently or obsessively? When in doubt, watch their body, not just the tongue. And sometimes it's not what they do, it's what they won't do. Have you noticed your dog won't look you in the eyes anymore? 4. Eye avoider. Guilt, not detachment. You call your dog's name. They come, but they won't look at you. Their head turns, their eyes dart. Their tail may wag, but their gaze stays away. And in that moment you wonder, did I lose their trust? Do they not love me anymore? But here's the truth. Avoiding eye contact isn't rejection. It's reverence. And sometimes it's fear of disappointing you. In canine social structure, direct eye contact can be a challenge. It's something leaders give and subordinates avoid. So when your dog turns their eyes, they might be saying, I respect you. I don't want conflict. But there's something deeper too, especially if this started after a scolding or during a stressful period. Dogs remember tone, volume, tension in your voice. If they associate your gaze with disapproval or anger, they'll look away, not because they don't care, but because they care too much. I once worked with a rescue named Toby. Sweet, gentle, but terrified of being wrong. His owner said, he never looks at me. We changed one thing, no more forced eye contact. Instead, the owner sat on the floor, softened her voice, and waited. The first time Toby held her gaze, she cried. Because it wasn't just a look, it was forgiveness. So next time your dog looks away, don't take it personally. Take it as an invitation to rebuild trust. And sometimes trust hides in the strangest places, like the pile of dirty laundry you left on the floor. 5. Clothes. Thief. Smell. Such as comfort. You walk into your bedroom and find your dog curled up right on your favorite sweatshirt. Again, maybe they dragged it off the chair. Maybe it was tucked under their belly like a blanket. You sigh, you scold. You think, why does she always take my clothes? But to your dog, that hoodie isn't just fabric. It's you. It's your scent, your presence, your safety. Dogs experience the world through their nose. Your worn clothes carry the deepest concentration of your scent, the one thing that tells them you're near. You're mine. I'm safe. When you're away, your shirt is the closest thing to a hug. In fact, studies on scent-based attachment show that dogs respond more strongly to their owner's scent than to food or toys. Especially in dogs with separation anxiety, laying on clothes is like taking shelter inside your smell. I once met a retired man named George with a Pomeranian named Lulu. She had a habit of stealing his socks always, after he left for errands. When he started leaving an old t-shirt in her crate, the sock stealing stopped. What she wanted wasn't socks, it was security. So next time your dog steals your shirt, pause before scolding. They're not being naughty, they're coping. And speaking of coping, there's one gesture dogs use that we often misread completely. It looks like an invitation to play, but sometimes it's a silent plea not to be hurt. 6. Belly presenter. Submission, not play. Your dog rolls over, belly up, legs in the air. You smile. Ah, belly rub time, you think. But as your hand reaches down, they stiffen. Their tail freezes. Their eyes dart. Something feels off. Because sometimes that exposed belly isn't an invitation. It's a white flag. In canine language, showing the belly can mean two very different things. One is joy, loose body, wagging tail, soft eyes. That's trust. That's play. But the other is tension. Ears back. Body stiff. No eye contact. That's submission. And it often comes from fear. Many dogs offer their belly not to say rub me, but to say please don't hurt me. Especially if they've been scolded or have a history of punishment, they roll over as a way to de-escalate. It's their way of saying, I surrender. I remember a rescue named Molly, a tiny Chi-X mix, who rolled over every time someone walked by. Her foster thought she was playful, but she was trembling, shaking. Her belly wasn't joy, it was defense. Only after weeks of gentle voice and non-threatening presence did she finally offer a happy roll. That moment changed everything. So before you reach for that tummy, pause. Read the room. Look at the tail, the eyes, the energy. And just like belly rolls, there's another behavior we often misread when your dog sits quietly by the dinner table. Just staring. 7. Dinner table. Stare. Pack rules. You're eating dinner. Your dog is sitting perfectly still, not begging, not whining, just staring. Eyes locked on you, unblinking, waiting. It's almost eerie, right? You wonder, is he hungry? Should I toss him a bite? But that stare. It's not about food. It's about you. In the wild pack, dynamics were strict. The alpha eats first. Everyone else waits. Staring wasn't just watching, it was a sign of respect, of rank, of patience. When your dog looks at you that way, they're not pleading. They're honoring the order. But here's where it gets complicated. If you regularly give them food while they stare, you start to blur that line. You teach them, if I stare, I get rewarded. And soon, it's no longer about respect. It's about confusion. I had a client named Rob with a shepherd mix named Duke. Sweet dog. But one day, Duke snapped at a guest near the dinner table. Why months of being fed from the plate had made him think he was entitled to it. That quiet stare turned into possessiveness. So what can you do? Set boundaries. A simple 30-second wait before giving food in their bowl reinforces patience and protects that beautiful mutual respect. Because not every stare is about hunger. Sometimes it's ritual, sometimes it's power, and sometimes it's panic. Like when that same sweet dog hears the doorbell and suddenly turns into a barking, spinning mess. 8. Doorbell Destroyer. Panic, not protection. The doorbell rings, and in a split second your calm, quiet pup turns into a whirlwind. Barking, jumping, spinning in circles like a storm in fur. You yell their name, they ignore you, you apologize to your guests over the noise, and deep down you think, why is my dog so protective? But what if I told you they're not protecting you, they're panicking? That sudden explosion of energy isn't confidence, it's chaos. The doorbell doesn't just signal someone's here. To many dogs, it means someone unknown is invading. And unknown equals unpredictable. One of the top canine behaviorists I spoke with said over 90% of doorbell aggression is actually rooted in fear, not dominance. It's not, I'm in charge. It's, I don't know what's happening. And that terrifies me. Bella was a Chihuahua I worked with who would go berserk at the sound of a knock. Her owner thought she was territorial. But when we reframed the doorbell from danger alert to treat cue, everything changed. After 3 weeks, Bella didn't bark. She walked to her bed tail, wagging and waited. So if your dog loses their mind at the door, don't punish the panic. Redirect it. Train them to see the sound as good news, not a threat. Because while some reactions are loud and obvious, others are quiet, like when your dog silently wanders the house at night, pacing alone while you sleep. 9. Midnight Wanderer, Hypervigilance. It's the middle of the night. You hear soft steps, paws clicking gently across the hardwood. At first, you think nothing of it. Just getting a drink, you tell yourself. But night after night, your dog keeps wandering. Room to room. Quiet, restless, never settling. Why, for older dogs, this could be early cognitive dysfunction, a canine version of confusion. But in many healthy dogs, especially rescues, or those deeply bonded to their humans, this is something else entirely patrol mode. In their mind, the house is the den. You're the pack. And silence is not safety, it's vulnerability. While you sleep, they're on guard, checking the windows, sniffing the doors, making sure nothing slipped through the cracks. I once met a senior Cavapoo named Juno. Every night, like clockwork, she did a full loop of the house. Her owner thought she was restless. But when we added a structured bedtime patrol walk together, one final lap before lights out, Juno settled. She just needed to know someone else was watching, too. If your dog paces every night, don't ignore it. It might be anxiety. Or it might be loyalty so deep they can't rest until they've checked every corner for you. And sometimes, once that job's done, they seek out the warmest, safest spot in the house to rest. Usually, right where you were sitting. 10. Couch Stealer, Missing You. You get up for a glass of water. When you return, your dog has taken your spot on the couch. Warm, indented, still holding your shape. They look up like, oh, were you sitting here? You roll your eyes, maybe nudge them over. But what if I told you they didn't steal your seat for comfort? They took it for connection. That exact spot holds your heat, your scent, your energy. For a dog especially, one who misses you or struggles with change, your seat is the safest space in the room. It's where you were. It's where they still feel close to you even when you're gone for just a minute. I had a client named Rachel with a German Shepherd named Jake. He never used to take her chair. But when her work hours changed and she started coming home late, he began jumping into her recliner the moment she left it. At first, she thought he was acting out. But when she let him stay and sat with him instead, his anxiety melted. Sometimes your dog doesn't want the couch, the my puiti. They want you. Or at least, the closest thing to you. Because dogs don't just miss us when we leave the room. They carry that longing even into their dreams. And what they dream about might surprise you. 11. Dream Talker, Memory Rehearsal. You're watching your dog sleep. Their legs twitch. Their nose scrunches. Maybe you hear a soft whimper or see their tail flick. It's adorable. But it also makes you wonder, what are they dreaming about? Turns out, they're not just chasing rabbits in their sleep. They might be chasing memories. Research from Harvard and the MIT Center for Sleep and Cognition has shown that dogs experience REM sleep similar to humans. During this phase, their brains replay moments from the day, problem-solving, rehearsing, reinforcing behavior. That game of fetch they struggled with earlier, they're practicing it right now in their dreams. I had a border collie client named Luna. Brilliant dog, but terrified of stairs. Her owner noticed that after intense training days, Luna would run in her sleep legs, moving muffled yelps. Weeks later, she conquered those stairs. What she couldn't do awake, she rehearsed asleep. And perhaps the most beautiful part brain scans show, dogs often dream about the humans they're closest to. That little tail wag in the middle of the night. It's not random. It might be them reliving your last walk together. So next time you see your dog twitching in sleep, don't wake them. They might be solving problems, or simply spending time with you all over again. And for some dogs, time awake isn't about solving problems. It's about never being apart. Especially when you can't take a single step without a set of paws following you. 12. Shadow follower. Separation anxiety. You wake up, your dog's there. You walk to the kitchen, they follow. Bathroom. They wait outside the door. Every step, every move. They're right behind you. You joke, I've got a furry stalker. But deep down, part of you wonders, is this normal? Sometimes yes. Dogs are social animals. They bond deeply. But when the following is constant obsessive, or triggers panic when you're gone, it's not devotion, it's separation. Anxiety. Dogs don't always show stress through destruction. Sometimes the warning sign is subtle. Following you everywhere isn't just habit, it's hypervigilance. If I don't see you, you might disappear. And to a dog who's lost someone before another pet, another human, that fear feels very real. One of my clients had a rescue named Bailey. She followed her owners so closely, she'd bump into doors if they closed too fast. But when left alone, she didn't bark or destroy. She just sat frozen. That silence wasn't peace. It was panic. We worked on independence training, short separations, calming signals, and slowly Bailey learned love doesn't disappear just because someone walks away. So if your dog follows you like a shadow, don't laugh it off. Watch for the moments when you leave. That's where the truth shows. And speaking of sensing things before they happen, did you know some dogs can detect storms? Hours before the first drop of rain. 13. Weather detector. Infrasound alert. It's a sunny afternoon, not a cloud in the sky. But your dog's behavior shifts. They start pacing, hiding under the bed, whining, shaking. You check the house. Nothing's wrong. You wonder, is he just being weird? And then the next morning, it rains. Coincidence? Maybe not. Dogs can sense changes in barometric pressure, humidity, and even low-frequency sound waves known as infrasound long before humans can. These are the same signals that travel ahead of storms, earthquakes, and even distant thunder. I worked with a Labrador named Bruno. Sweet, calm, predictable. Except on certain days he'd vanish under the bed, trembling. His owner kept a journal. And over 3 months, Bruno predicted every single thunderstorm. 47 out of 50 times he sensed it before the forecast. It's not magic, it's biology. Dogs' inner ears are far more sensitive than ours, and their survival instincts go back generations long before radar or weather apps. So next time your dog acts strangely on a clear day, don't dismiss it. They may be hearing the sky shift long before we do. Because some dogs don't just feel the weather. They feel your pain, even when you're doing everything to hide it. Especially when they start to go quiet. 14. Silent sufferer. Pain with no sign. Not all dogs cry out. Not all limp when hurt. Some suffer in silence, and those are the ones we miss the most. It starts subtly. They stop greeting you at the door. Toys sit untouched. Walks become slower. Meals smaller. But there's no limp, no yelp, no obvious wound. Just a quiet withdrawal. A gentle fading of the dog you thought you knew so well. I remember Max, a golden retriever whose tail used to wag like a metronome. Then one day, it didn't. His owner said he's just getting older. But something felt wrong. We ran tests. Max had been living with chronic joint pain for months. He never showed it. Never complained. Just endured. That's what makes it so dangerous. Dogs are loyal to a fault. They don't want to bother us. So they don't bark. They don't cry. They just fade. If your dog isn't acting like themselves, don't chalk it up to age or personality. Notice the little things: hesitation on stairs, changes in sleep patterns, sudden clinginess, or sudden distance. Because sometimes the dogs who ask for the least are the ones who need us the most. And some dogs don't just sense your routine, they live by it. Down to the very minute you walk through the door. 15. Timekeeper. Smell of routine. You pull into the driveway, and there they are, waiting at the window tail, wagging exactly on time. But here's the mystery. How do they know you didn't say a word? No keys jingling. No garage sound yet. And your schedule isn't even consistent. So how does your dog always know when you're coming home? It turns out they smell time. As strange as that sounds, research into canine olfaction shows dogs can track how long you've been gone by how your scent fades from the environment. The longer you're away, the more your scent dissipates, and they've memorized the curve of that fading. One experiment observed that dogs began pacing or waiting by the door at almost the exact same moment each day, even when arrival times shifted. It wasn't routine they were sensing. It was chemistry. And they don't just track time by scent. The house smells different on weekends. The air changes, the sounds, the energy. Your dog builds an internal clock from it all ticking not in seconds, but in smells. So next time you walk in the door and see them there waiting, know that they didn't just guess. They felt you coming. They knew, and in some heartbreaking cases, that sense becomes so deep, it shows in the final moments. When one last lick becomes something more than affection, it becomes goodbye. 16. Final lick, goodbye, saying farewell. Sometimes a lick is just a lick, but sometimes it's a goodbye. I've seen it more times than I can count: an old dog nearing the end who suddenly becomes quiet, still. And then, in those final hours, they go to each family member and lick. Once, softly, then lie down and never get up again. It sounds like a story someone made up, but I've seen it in real life. And the more I learn about canine emotional memory, the more I believe it's real. Dogs don't understand death the way we do, but they feel endings. They know when the energy in the home changes, when the people they love are holding their breath, when goodbyes are being whispered in the hall. That final lick. It's their way of saying, I was here. I loved you. I'm ready. One man told me his Labrador buddy hadn't licked anyone in months. But on the morning they made the painful decision, Buddy walked over and licked each of his children, then curled into his favorite blanket and closed his eyes. That wasn't a coincidence. That was closure. So if it ever happens to you, hold that moment. Because they're not just licking your skin. They're leaving a piece of themselves behind. And sometimes they do the same for people they don't even know, especially when they sense something is very, very wrong. 17. Lick visitors' feet. Illness detection. It's just a visit, a neighbor, a friend. Someone stops by and kicks off their shoes, and suddenly your dog makes a beeline for their feet. Not playful, not curious, just insistent. They sniff, they lick, and they won't stop. You laugh it off? Embarrassing, maybe, but harmless. Right, maybe not. There's a growing body of research around dogs detecting illness through scent, particularly cancer. They've been trained to identify skin, lung, even ovarian cancer by smell alone. But in some cases, they don't need training. They just know. One family told me about their dog, Lucy. She never licked guests ever. But one day, she wouldn't stop licking the foot of a friend visiting from out of town. Weeks later, that woman was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. She said, "I didn't feel sick." But Lucy knew. Dogs can detect changes in our sweat breath and skin chemical shifts that signal something's off. We may not notice it, but they do. So if your dog suddenly fixates on someone's body, especially in a way that feels different, pay attention. It might mean nothing, but it might mean everything. And what's even more remarkable, some dogs don't just notice others. They notice us especially when we return home. Changed. 18. Post-Dr. Lick, sensing health change. You walk in the door after a doctor's appointment. You're quiet, maybe tired. Nothing seems different. But your dog knows. They rush to you, not just excited, but focused. Their nose goes straight to your legs. Then, they lick your feet. Slowly, deliberately. And you think she never does that. Why today? Because something's changed. Dogs are expert scent readers. They can detect tiny shifts in your hormones, stress levels, even blood chemistry. Medical studies have confirmed dogs detecting blood sugar drops in diabetic seizures before they happen, and yes, even emotional distress. You don't need to cry or limp. Your body already told them everything. One woman shared that her dog only licked her feet when she returned from chemotherapy. "It was like he could smell the hospital on me," she said. But not just that. He could smell what it did to me. These moments might feel random, but they're not. They're empathy made physical. So next time your dog greets you differently after a medical visit, don't brush it off. They're not just saying hello. They're saying, "I know. I feel it. I've got you." And sometimes they express that care not in emergencies, but in the most tender, quiet rituals, like the one they do every single night before bed. 19. Bedtime Licker, ritual affection. The lights are dim. You've brushed your teeth, pulled back the covers, and climbed into bed. As you settle in, you feel it your dog climbs up beside you and gently begins licking your feet. Not frantically, not randomly, just soft, slow, steady. It happens every night. Same time, same place. And you've probably thought, this is just their little bedtime quirk. But it's not a quirk. It's a ritual. Dogs thrive on routine. It brings them safety, predictability, and comfort. And for many, licking before bed is a final gesture of bonding, a way to say, "We're safe. We're home. I love you." Like a kiss goodnight. Only wetter. One woman told me her rescue, a senior Pomeranian, never licked during the day. But every night as soon as the lights went out, he'd find her feet under the blanket and begin his quiet ritual. "I think it's how he calms himself," she said. And me too. These moments may feel small, but they build something profound: trust, consistency, connection. If your dog licks you at night, don't push them away. Embrace it. You're not just ending the day, you're reinforcing the bond that carried you through it. And when that bond is strong, something else often happens. A moment we don't expect. When all those behaviors, the licking, the following, the silent glances, come rushing back with a single painful realization. 20. The realization, looking back with guilt. You look back years later, and certain moments come rushing in. The paw on your knee, the midnight pacing, the quiet stare. At the time they seemed small, normal, maybe even annoying. But now, with everything you've learned, you see them differently. You realize they were trying to tell you something, and you missed it. It's one of the hardest parts of loving a dog. They don't speak our language, but they try, over and over again, through subtle glances, strange habits, repeated gestures. And we, distracted by life, too often miss the whispers in favor of the loud. One man told me, "My dog used to lick my feet every night. I thought it was just his thing." Then he stopped. I didn't notice. A month later, he was gone. That's the thing about hindsight, it hurts. But it also teaches. And the beautiful part, dogs don't hold grudges. They don't resent our late understanding. They just keep showing up day after day with licks, looks, and love. So if you've ever looked back with guilt, you're not alone. We all have. But you're here now. You're learning. You're listening. And that means your dog still has the one thing they've always wanted most, not perfection. Just someone who finally understands. So now you know. That lick on your foot. It's not just saliva and instinct. It might be affection, it might be habit, but it might also be fear, anxiety, loyalty, confusion, or even goodbye. What we've explored together isn't just about licking, it's about listening. It's about learning a language that doesn't use words. A language of glances, silence, pacing, paw placing, and yes, feet licking. A language our dogs have been speaking to us for years while we were too distracted to hear. And that's okay. Because you're here now. You've stayed through 20 behaviors, 20 silent cries, 20 chances to do better. And that matters. Your dog doesn't need you to be perfect. They don't care if you got it wrong yesterday. They just care that you're trying today. I always tell my clients this: dogs don't speak English, but they speak love. And if you learn to listen, really listen, you'll start to hear them everywhere. In the quiet moments, the odd routines, the licks that seem to come out of nowhere. If this video opened your eyes, even just a little, leave a comment. Tell me which behavior hit you the hardest. Which one reminded you of a dog you still miss, or a moment you finally understand? And if you know someone who has a dog, someone who might be missing the signs, share this. Because one small change could save a dog from months of silent suffering. Next week, I'll share something even more surprising. A sound most people have never heard that can instantly calm an anxious dog. You won't want to miss it. Until then, keep watching, keep wondering, and keep being the person your dog already believes you are.